Hi friends, Pastor Larry again, trying to help you keep in perfect peace in the middle of a stormy world. I want to talk to you today a little bit about dealing with fear. It's much easier than most people think, and it's usually very misunderstood as to what it is. First of all, fear, I want you to know, there's two types of fear we're going to be dealing with. One type is the fear of physical harm. Something you have control over is the physical surroundings you're in. If you're driving a car on an icy highway and in the mountainous curves and so forth, you ought to have a little fear. It causes you to be more cautious. Or if you're standing on the edge of a building, looking down at the traffic below, you ought to have a little fear. It makes you a little wiser for that moment, because it has to do with something you have control over. It has to do with your physical protection. The other kind of fear, the fear we're talking about today, is the emotional type of fear. Anxiety, worry, those things that occupy our mind and that wear us down, that we have absolutely no control over or very little control over, or it's something that we've done our very best at, and the rest of it we have to kind of have some faith and trust. So that's the kind of fear we're talking about. Emotional fear, anxiety and anxiousness, those anxiety attacks that many people have, causing them to be medicated, horrible things that take your breath away, speed up your heart rate, raise your blood pressure. That's the kind of anxiety or fear we're talking about today. Now, Jesus said, I always like to start out with the promise. Jesus said to us, "My peace I give you. Not as the world gives, do I give." No, he says, "My peace I give you." How is Jesus' peace different than the peace of the world? Well, in Jesus' peace, or in the world's peace, you gotta believe everything they tell you and agree with them 100%, or there's no peace. What Jesus said is, you can have my peace when no one agrees with you, and when you're in the middle of a storm of life. Now that's kind of good news if you ask me. Jesus had perfect peace in the worst storms, of life that he could be in, I would think. I don't think you and I will have any storms that exceed that at all. And so Jesus said, I want you to live in my peace. Peace is the benchmark he set for the church. He said, if we can walk in perfect peace, we could also then love each other. Because if you're not stirred up, it's easy to love people. We'll get into the love angle of it a little later on in another teaching. But fear is the thing that we want to concentrate on today. It says in 2 Timothy 1:7, he says, I didn't give you a spirit of fear, but I gave you a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. God didn't give us fear. Fear is not from the Lord. And now we talk about a spirit of fear. We cast out the spirit of fear. I want to show you an easier way to get rid of fear. Yes, it can be a spirit, but it can also just be a worrisome mind. What your mind is doing when you leave it uncontrolled. Here's the one thing I want you to grab. Most important in this whole teaching. Fear causes you to produce what you're afraid is going to come upon you. Let me explain that a little bit. If you're afraid you're going to be rejected, you stay away. The results are the same. You're lonely. You have no one around you. If you're afraid people are going to reject you, you won't even try. If you're afraid you can't win, you won't try. If you're afraid you can't do something, you do things that keep you from doing the thing you're afraid you can't do. And the end result is the same no matter how you cut it. Sometimes people are so afraid that let's talk about marriage, relationships, so afraid that their loved one's going to leave them, that they actually become overbearing and kind of smother them, so they really do leave. See, that fear driving you to do what wouldn't be normal to you, causing the thing that comes upon you is what you feared the most. So that's the thing I wanted you to grab here, because I want to show you how simple it is to get rid of fear. Now, you may reject this at first, but that's all right. Try it. Just try it. when you feel fear come upon you, the fear of rejection, the fear of not completing something, the fear of failure will actually cause you to fail. When you feel these things come upon you, here's what I want you to do. I want you to just say, Jesus, out loud, let your thoughts cross your lips, Jesus, would you take this fear off of me? Now, what can you expect after you say that? You'll just quiet your mind and sit for a second, and you'll feel a tugging on your heart. I always call it a tugging on your heart, or some people have explained it as, in their life, kind of a little pressure in the chest. When you feel that, take a deep breath. Resign yourself to let go of it. See, when you give up, when you let go of something, you just kind of, and that's what we have to do in the situation where we're asking Jesus to carry our fear or to deal with our fear. Jesus, would you please take this fear off of me? You'll feel that little tug in the chest. When you do, now when you finish taking that first deep breath, if you still feel him tugging or that tapping in your heart or whatever you feel, if you still feel that, do it again. And you do it every time until he quits tugging on your heart, till that pressure in your heart leaves, and then that fear will be gone. A lot of people say, well, what happens when it comes back? Well, you ask him to do it again. And I can testify to the fact that if you do it often enough, you'll normally have a common fear that bothers you and drives you. When you do it often enough, pretty soon you win the battle and that fear no longer overtakes you. Now, there's another scripture I want you to look at because it talks about fear, the kind of fear we're talking about. Philippians 4:6 says, be anxious for nothing. He didn't say be anxious for nothing except this or that. He said be anxious for nothing. What does nothing not cover? It covers everything. He says if you're anxious, he says, talk to me. That's all he's saying. Philippians 4:6. If you're anxious, be thankful I'm here and talk to me. And I will promise you, verse 7 goes on to say, I promise you I'll give you the peace of God that passes all understanding. And it'll also guard your heart and your mind. So you see, folks, fear is not really anything huge to be afraid of. Fear is something to deal with because Jesus said, I didn't give you a spirit of fear. Fear is not of God. Fear is going to be the very thing that causes you to fail, and that's usually what you're afraid of, failing. So it's going to cause you to fail. So take a deep breath and relax and realize you've got a great God in the court with you, and he's just going to help you if you learn to work with him. And that's all I'm talking about here, learning to work with God. Jesus, would you take this fear off of me? And he takes the fear away. Maybe 2 breaths, maybe 3 breaths, who cares? It's a good lung exercise anyway, and it'll help you. So, friends, just simplify your relationship with God. Simplify life. You know, we get so wrapped up in all these things and we think it's demonic and all that, and it could be at times, but I guarantee you most of the time it's not going to be demonic, not if you're a Christian. And if it is demonic and you're a Christian, then my next question would be, well, why? What are you doing to open the door? So folks, relax. When that fear comes upon you, if you're going to a family's house or going to a stranger's house and you're going to deal with something you're not familiar with, or you got to stand up in front of a crowd and you feel like, oh, I can't do this. Nope, take a deep breath. Jesus, take this fear, please. You might even ask him, Lord, would you just put your peace on me? And he'll put his peace on you, and you'll be able to accomplish what you thought you couldn't accomplish. So God bless you, friends. Come on, keep life simple. Talk to Jesus. And respond to him, work with him, and your life will be a lot happier. You'll be at more peace, and I guarantee you, you'll live a lot longer. So, God bless. Till we meet again, which is going to be pretty quick, I suppose. I'm going to be posting here quite a bit. So, smile, be happy, and love life.